Dear students, good evening. Welcome to Law Excellence. Let us discuss today's editorials, that is September 19, 2022. The first article, Geopolitics Without Geoeconomics, a Fool's Errand. This is a good essay topic for you. In this, author essentially argues this way. The geopolitics and geoeconomics are intricately intertwined with each other. So geopolitics and geoeconomics cannot be seen in compartments or silos. India is pursuing the geopolitics. In this context, India is joining on one side SCO, on the other side Quad. So it is trying to multi-align. On the other side, on the geoeconomic front, multilateral organizations are engagements India is keeping away from them. In this case, India shall actively pursue multilateral trade arrangements. That is what author is speaking here. The trade arrangements which it is looking at is the Mineral Security Partnership, Indo-Pacific Economic Framework and the trade element into it, Comprehensive and Progressive Trans-Pacific Partnership are few which the author is suggesting. So if India do not join or active in geoeconomics, what can be the consequences? Author is worried about isolation, the regional trade isolation, and it can put or push India to the fringes. It cannot help India in the long run. And second part of it is the countries such as China can use the trade as an instrument or as a weapon to pursue their interests, and where India will be naturally disadvantageous. And then the competitive edge of any economy will depend upon the forces that nurture it. So that's why the trade from outside and competition from outside can make Indian industry more competitive. If India do not expose to this competition, Indian industry may go back to the socialistic era. And finally, the global supply chains are very much important today, and COVID has proven that. In this context, if India has to be part of the global supply chains, these multilateral trade arrangements are an important source. Finally, remember one thing. If India wants to maintain its global status, the geoeconomics are a way forward. India being the fifth largest economy, and if it has to prove its might on the stage, it has to take geopolitics along with geoeconomics. This is the most important article for today, that is the gender pay gap, hard truth and actions needed. Remember here, the pay gap is one of the worrisome things in India. Not only in India, across the developing and underdeveloped world. How can we define this as? There are multiple dimensions to it. One important dimension is the pay difference for the same work between men and women. The second is where the occupations are feminized, like nursing, the low wages exist. The third important thing is the motherhood pay gap between the childbearing women and others. Childbearing women are paid less. So that is called care burden of the woman. So the gender pay gap, it exhibits in different forms. What are the steps taken by the government? In this case, Equal Wages Act, Minimum Wages Act, and skillful upgradation of women, and added to that Maternity Benefits Amendment Act in 2017. So it has increased the paid leave for a woman for up to 26 weeks. So these are the steps taken. Why this article is important? The gender pay gap got increased during the COVID-19. If you see this plus one advantage, International Labour Organization gives this particular global work report. In this global work report, it has clearly earmarked India as a category where gender gap increased from the previous situation. So that's why you need to remember this point. A disruptive nexus of China and Pakistan. In this, how China and Pakistan are deeply engaged with each other. How China is expected to use Pakistan to wage a proxy military and nuclear power against India. So Pakistan is being nurtured by China as a proxy military and nuclear power. That's the author is trying to say. If you see deep-rooted cooperation, Chashma nuclear reactors, and second, short-range missiles were offered, which are against the MTCR missile technology control regime. The third thing is China-Pakistan economic corridor is going through the POK, and India was not consulted onto that. And added to that, China has interfered in Kashmir issue in favor of Pakistan. And Pakistan is also acting as a bridge between China and Organization for Islamic Conference. And China also has vetoed from time to time various terror elements living in Pakistan or hiding in Pakistan. When India tried to introduce it before UNSC Sanctions Committee 1267 Sanctions Committee, China has vetoed in the Security Council. And finally, the Pakistan receives the largest export of arms from China. So if you see the China and Pakistan all-weather friend, so they are getting intertwined like never before. And Pakistan's existing situation, the debt situation, China is the biggest aid provider to the Pakistan. And next, floods and political economy. So Bengaluru floods, we can use this as an example. The most modern cities in India are victims of poor infrastructure, and Bengaluru is a recent example. The whole Bengaluru was able to face the floods well, but not the newly developed part of Bengaluru. That clearly shows that the development is chaotic and development is not regulated and poorly planned. So what are the reasons for these floods? One is encroachment of lakes, wetlands, and storm water drains. And second, poor planning, regulation, and ill-planned development. Third most important thing, we all know climate change is bringing in sudden burst of rain. And the local governments, most of these satellite areas under the administration of the local governments, and local governments do not have capabilities to regulate this unplanned development. These are the points which you can keep for your answer. This unplanned urbanization is making urbanization itself chaotic in India. And the final article, era of war is over. So I have selected this to use it as a conclusion. The Prime Minister Modi has stated to Putin that era of war is over. So you can remember this particular statement to reproduce in your answer. Era of war is over. In this case, the article talks about India's presidency towards SCO and G20 in the coming year. So on one side, India has to balance China-Russia dominated forums. On the other side, the democratic forums like Quad. So in this case, India is going to have a tight walk that is being discussed over here. So today, with regard to +1 advantage, you can quote Bangalore floods as an example for the unplanned development. And second, you can use ILO's work report as an example for rising inequalities in payments and inequalities with regard to work-related security. And coming to the most important aspect, we need to talk about the importance of India joining the multilateral arrangements. Geopolitics and geoeconomics, they always go together. That is the point which we need to talk about. So with this, thank you very much. Wish you all the best.